welcome to another live episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, WIZE. I have a very special guest on. I'll let him tell you a little about himself when he comes on. But welcome to the show, Daniel Krinzel.
Thank you, Wise. Really excited to be a part of this. I was jamming with your intro there, man. That was some good stuff.
Well,
Just turning my headphones up.
a friend of mine, he actually made that intro for me. I actually had a different intro that I loved as well, but it was time for a change. It's time. It's always good to freshen things up.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's going on, Daniel? How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I really am. I'm excited to be a part of this. I was noticing, a little bit about the write up on this podcast, and it's exciting that you have some casino background. I was from Las Vegas for a long time. I don't live there anymore, but I know all about that.
Yes, I am still a table games dealer. It pays well. It pays the bills. I can't complain. But I found my passion. I found what I love to do in podcasting. I love the fact that I'm able to help people share their story and make an impact on other people's lives. So that's why we're here.
Sweet.
All right. So tell us a little something about. I was reading your profile. You have an amazing story. You turned, like you lost everything and you bounced back and you've been able to turn things around, and I know how that feels. I've lost a lot. I lost a lot in my time, and I've been able to bounce back. So tell us a little something about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been in business. I was 13. I had my first business. I actually had a lawn cutting business in Ohio. So I haven't, I started at an early age making money. So it wasn't about like having a problem with making money. I got in the mortgage business after college and after baseball. And, man, I was running and I was gunning. I was making a lot of money, owned my own mortgage company. I was 28 years old, living in a neighborhood that I did not belong. Like the neighbors would ask me, where are your parents? What do you mean, where are my parents, man? This is my house. So I got a little chip on my shoulder, but and I had everything that you dream of as a kid, and making hundreds of thousands of dollars every month, being the boss. That was like the life, if you can imagine, Wise. And then it changed. We went into a real estate bubble that got popped, and in 2008, March of 2008, I was in the forefronts of that, man. I was like the front lines of being affected. And,
Yeah,
it's rough.
and if anybody was living under a rock and don't know what happened in 2008, the housing market crashed, and people who was in real estate lost a lot. Lost a lot.
Yeah. I do want to say something, though. I'm not a punk bitch, and I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I'm a victim and ooh, woo me, like it happened to me. No, fuck that. Like, I made a decision not to do what I needed to do,
Yeah.
To figure it out. I could have figured it out, but instead of figuring it out, I decided to drink and drink all day, every day, because I couldn't feel it. I didn't want to be a part of anything anymore. It went from hundreds of thousands of dollars every month, like literally $100,000 in a week was like no big deal, with all of the business that I was closing. And then it was like nothing. The spigot got turned off. I went into foreclosure, bankruptcy, repo. Everything that I owned was gone or taken. And literally, she even took the kids. She left and took the kids. So I was there alone in a rental house that I couldn't even pay the rent on, and was evicted out of that and had to call my dad for a place to stay when I was 28 years old.
Wow.
It was rough.
I can imagine, man. That is, especially when you lose your kids and you lose your career, you lose your lifeline. It's difficult, man. And people, some people just would give up.
Yeah, I did. I gave up at that point. I really did. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, finish.
So I was giving up, for the first time in my life. Like, I just wanted to drink and do nothing. I had to call my dad, and I'm like, Dad, I need a place to stay. Like, I can't pay the rent here. I have no credit. Credit's horrible. I got foreclosures, repos, bankruptcies, like all of it. It's there. And I need a place to stay. And he said, "You can come home. You can stay on the couch. You know the spare bedroom's my spot where I do office work. So come on home." And I'm like, "I need a ride." He's like, "What about all the cars?" I'm like, "They're all taken." And I'm hungry, Dad. Like that's literally the conversation I had. So he picks me up, he feeds me, he gives me a couch to sleep on. And for 2 years, um, I just drank. I almost drank my life away. I almost killed myself with drinking the amount of alcohol that I drank. Like I didn't know that it was humanly possible to consume as much alcohol as I did for the solid 2 years.
Oh, I know something about indulging in the bottle. After I lost my wife in '08, um, I went and kind of, oh, sorry about that. Kind of like you, I drank my sorrows away. I just indulged myself, just sunk myself into the bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it was bad. Again, I'm not a victim. I made these decisions myself. I say
Mhm.
that. I'll say that a couple of more times because I don't want someone to look at me and feel bad for me. That's not what this story's about. It's
No.
about where I was, and so my routine was I would wake up in the morning. I would go to the liquor cabinet. I would pour a drink, or I'd go out in the garage where I had some stuff stashed. I'd make a drink, and I would drink, and I would drink until I passed out that night. That was my routine. That's all I did. That's all I cared about. My dad would cook dinner from time to time, and I would eat. Other than that, I wouldn't even eat. And this morning, literally, like it was the seventh. It was the seventh day of the month. It was July 7th, 2010. I decided to get up like I normally do. I had 6 hours of not drinking. I wasn't sober, but I hadn't started drinking yet. So I had 6 hours of sleep in me. And I was walking towards the kitchen to get my drink like I usually do. And instead of going in the kitchen, I opened the door and walked out into my dad's backyard. And why is I'm not like a backyard dude. Like I don't go for walks. I just, for some reason, like felt called to go in the backyard. So I go in the backyard and I just was like going on this like little walk and I hear the voice of God enter into my mind. And he like clear as day. He's like, "Son, stop drinking. You're done drinking. Don't drink again." And I'm like, "Wow, okay, who is that?" Was that my dad? I'm like looking to my left. I'm looking behind me. I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" "Son, you can hear me. Don't drink again." And I'm like, and it was like the most booming bass, like strong voice I've ever heard in my life. And it was like inside of me, like stereo. And I start talking back to God. And I'm like, "God, I've been trying to stop drinking for like years. I mean, the 2 years that I wasn't making any money, I was trying to stop. But then 2 to 5 years before that, I was trying to stop too, because when I was making money, I was partying and celebrating because I closed all those deals. So it was like, I close all these deals, I'm going to drink. I don't close these deals, I'm going to drink. It was like a horrible circle of just bad decisions that I kept making for years. And so I'm reasoning with God and I'm like, "God, how am I going to stop?" He's like, "You're done. Don't drink again." And he's like, not wavering. I'm like, "Okay, all right, great. Uh, I'm done." I walk into the house, I sit on the couch, I didn't drink. Um, and for the next like 3 or 4 days, I like just like was like hanging out with my dad, like watching TV and just like building a relationship with him again. And it was like some of the greatest times I've ever had with my dad. And it wasn't like I was learning anything or I was growing or I was getting better. I was just being defogged. Like the poison was leaving, man. And
Yeah.
I was sitting there like, this feels great. And then about the fifth or sixth day of not drinking, I sat there on the couch. I woke up one morning. I'm like, I got to get my shit together. Like, I got to make some money. I got to get my kids back. I got to get a place. I got to get a car. Like, I got to do some stuff. And so I got into a network marketing business and made some money. It wasn't the kind of money I was used to. So I got back into the mortgage business. But here was a difference. From the first stint at the mortgage business to the second one was I was sober and I was being led by God. Like I didn't have the direct connection that I have like today, but God was like pushing me. He was like, "Do this marketing, focus on this, work with this realtor, work at this mortgage company, do this, say this, sell this way, charge this way." Like it was like just voice that would just come in and like, and I would listen to this thing and I would do it. And then all of a sudden before I knew it, I had like the owner of a large mortgage company that I was working with at the time. He said, "Look, you can't leave. I've opened 2 warehouse lines as a result of all the business that you've created. You can't go anywhere. I'm counting on you. You're not going anywhere, and you're going to be an owner now. You're going to have a stake in the company. You're going to profit share. I'm going to give you your own building, and you're going to run the show with your own branch. You can build your own team." And I'm like, okay. So I was blessed to build a huge mortgage company again for the second round, and I was killing it. It was exciting.
I I know I know that voice in the head very in my head very well, because it was after I had suffered one tragedy after another, and like I said, I was indulging in the bottle and just drinking away. And one day I woke up and this voice told me, you need to change your life. This is not who you're supposed to be. This is not your purpose. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. And you need to change your life around. And it impacted me. It changed, and I started making that change. I started doing the things that I was supposed to do. I got myself. I had been sleeping on my brother's floor on an air mattress. I didn't have a place to stay. I ended up moving in with some friends, then eventually getting my own little room, renting a room from someone. And then my mom and my sister came back from Puerto Rico. We got an apartment in Brooklyn, and things started changing. I started working security, started changing my life around, and I met my wife now that I'm with now, and and that's really has changed my life. That's really impacted my life to the fact where I have a good career. I make decent money. Um, I have a beautiful wife. I have my family around me. I have some beautiful grandchildren, and I found my purpose.
Yeah.
And being able to do my podcast and being able to have people like yourself come on the show and tell your story, and even sharing my story, it's being able to impact people's lives is why I do this.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I had like an aha moment um, at the height of like this second round in the mortgage business. Like I'm making money, like big money, more money than I ever made. And it's really important to like lock in on this part because this was like that big courage that I had to like I had because I like was listening to God as he was telling me do this, do this, and do that. Like he was guiding me. So
Right.
like I knew that like when I felt this guidance, like I listened, like things got better. It was way better than my ideas. So I'm in my office. It's conveniently the seventh day of the month again. I don't know what's going on with the seventh day of the month, but like seventh day of the month. It's 5:30 in the morning. I'm in my office now. I have my own building. I've got employees. I'm running the show, making a lot of money, millions of dollars in my mortgage business again. And I look at my bank account, and there was $131,000 deposited into my account, and that was a deposit that hit on the 6th, the day before. And I'm like, okay, well, why is that's kind of early? What is that from? So I'm tracking it back, and I'm like, holy crap, that's the commissions for 6 days worth of closings for the month. I'm
Wow.
like, okay, so there's going to be 400, $500,000 coming in by the end of this month for the monthly income that I made because of all of the pipeline, all the commissions, all the deals that I was closing. Like, hell yeah, and but then I like felt myself like selling myself to feel good about it because I wasn't feeling good. It was the weirdest, craziest feeling and sensation I ever had. Like, I'm sober, I'm healthy, my kids are in my life. Like, I got more toys than I even know what to play with. I got, race cars, exotic cars, like just craziness, right? I got all this money, and I'm like, why in the hell do I feel like shit? Why do I feel empty?
What were
So I
you
asked
missing?
God. That's what I was like, what am I missing? There was nothing I was missing. So I like look up whys and into the ceiling tiles in my chair, and I'm like, God, why do I feel this way? What's wrong with me? and he speaks to me, and he gave me that voice that he gave me back in 2010 when it's like, the stop drinking voice. He gave me the son, you're done doing mortgages. You're not going to close mortgages anymore. Get out of the business for good. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm kind of good at this thing. Like, look at my bank account. I got a building. I got my employees. There's a lot of money coming in this month. Like, what are you talking about? I'm done.
But you're not happy though.
I'm not happy, but I'm looking at dollar signs at this point.
Yes.
I mean, there's big dollars. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm done? Now I'm like I had like a telemarketing center that I built. That was like one of my key success points was that like
Yeah.
I had people like setting appointments for me so I could just sell all day long on my phone. So I'm in the bullpen area where the cubicles are. And it's like a big area, and I'm walking like pacing as I'm talking to God. Remember, there's no one in the office yet. It's really early in the morning. And I'm like, God, how am I going to unwind all of this? I've got 5 full-time employees. I got 4 telemarketers. I've got part-time people that are on the corporate side that are working, for me and counting on me. Like, I have a lease. I've got all of these commitments. Like, you leverage yourself when you make a bunch of money. You leverage yourself. That's just what you do. So I did it smarter this time, but I had all of this responsibility. I'm like, God, how am I going to do this? He's like, you're done. He wouldn't give me anything else. He's like, you're done. And then he gave me the last piece of this conversation. He says, I built you to be way more than what you are right now. You're not here on this earth to just help one family at a time move into their dream home. I got way more and bigger plans for you.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, well, that's inspiring. Thank you. Then my team started walking into their cubicles and their desks for the day. So I went back into my office, and I just sat there. I got out of my office. I grabbed a fresh cup of coffee. I sat back down, and I look at my calendar, and there's like calls that are started that are booked appointments from my call center that they set up for me. So why is I do the conversation. I knew I was done, but like I had appointments, so I started making calls like a normal day. But here's what was weird. I couldn't close anything for the life of me. Like, everyone's like, your rates are too high, your fees are too high. People are canceling. They're like, we don't want to work with you. We're going to go with someone else. I'm like, people don't talk to me like that. Like, I'm the best in the business. Like, what are you talking about? Couldn't figure it out. The second day goes the same way. I can't close nothing. Things are falling out of contract. Docs aren't showing up the title. Like, people aren't closing. Like what the hell is going on? The third day, same stuff's happening. And I look at my calendar, and I've got a chiropractor appointment. The most exciting chiropractor appointment I've ever had in my life, because I got to get out of the office because I had a couple heavy days in a row.
Yeah.
So I go to the chiropractor's appointment. I sign in. I'm in the waiting room, and God speaks to me again in the waiting room of the chiropractor's office. He says, son, delete your database. I about lose my shit. What? Delete my database? This is 22 years of my blood, sweat, and tears, all my marketing, all my paid data, all my closed clients, all my notes for my repeat clients, all of the clients that want to upgrade their homes. Like, I know exactly what I'm supposed to talk to them. Like, I'm very organized. I'm very strategic in business. Like, I know how to make money. I know how to do this. Like, it's all in there.
Yeah.
And my tech is so high level, like I have the ability to delete it from my phone, and I did. I went to the trash folder, delete. It's gone. Now I'm freaking out. Then they call me back for my adjustment. I'm like, great timing. I needed some more information. So I go back, I lay on the chiropractor's table, and it's the same dude that works on me every week. I go there just to like get energy. He like really helps me like really come alive. And I'm like erect, like I'm like straight on the table, like I can't move. And the dude's like pushing on me, trying to like Dr. Phil my ass. He's like, so you have a lot of stress in your life, don't you? And I'm like, dude, you don't even know what happened in your waiting room. And he's like, well, we could talk about it. I'm like, no, we can't. I'm out of here. I got out of there. I'm like not having the conversation with the chiropractor. So I did what I knew. I drove back to the office, and I went into the office and I shut the door. And I didn't know what the hell I was going to do.
Wow. And it's funny because to me, because I'm not a religious person. I was raised Catholic. My mom raised me Catholic and all that. But to have that voice speak to me and tell me, it was just powerful. It was just like you need to change your life. This is not the path for you. This is not I what is meant for you. And
Yeah.
I and I and I, and I didn't question it. And there was no questioning. Like, am I going crazy? Am I hearing things? What is going? None of that. It was like, okay, you tell me what to do, and I'm gonna do it. And that started me on my path that I'm on now, and it's helped me fight. Like, I was in my 40s and I didn't have a purpose. I
Yeah.
didn't know what to do with my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And to be able to have God speak and tell me, like, no, you have bigger things. It's gonna don't wait. It's gonna come, and it
Yeah.
did. It did. It came during the pandemic. I got furloughed from work. I didn't have nothing to do. I had been wanting to start a podcast, but I didn't know what it was going to be about until I finally decided to press record and release it, and then it just started growing. And it's been growing and growing and growing till to the point now. This week, I've been recognized as one of the top 25 podcasts in entrepreneurship, and I'm like, whoa, this is this is this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my path. This is being able to make an impact, and to me, it's not all about the numbers as far as it's if I help one person a day, if I help one person, if anyone gets anything from any of the content I put out, I am doing what I'm supposed to do.
That's right. Hell yeah. I'm really glad we got connected. I'm glad we're talking.
Well, this is why
And
I think that this is supposed to happen. People don't think it's fun. These conversations that I have are meant to be.
yeah,
These conversations are meant to be because there is someone out there that needs to hear this conversation. There's someone out there that needs to hear that. Hey, regardless of what you go through in life, there is hope.
I agree with you 100%. So I delete the database. I leave the chiropractor's office. I drive back to the office because that's all I know what to do, right? I shut the door in my office and I ask God, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like, I deleted the database. Obviously, it's clear you're not going to let me bring in any more business. So, what do I do now? He says, go home and play with your children and then wake up extra early tomorrow and go for a walk with me and I'll let you know. And I mean, that was not the answer I was looking for, but it was
It never
calming.
is.
Yeah.
It never is.
But it was calming. So I went home.
Yeah.
I played with my kids, got a bunch of kids. My younger boy was there. We were playing the drums. He's like a drummer, a little drummer. He's playing the drums. I'm playing with him. My little daughter is just learning how to walk. She's bopping around. I mean, it was like a beautiful night. Like God had something to do with that feeling that I felt of that calm and just love for my children that night because there was a lot fucking going on in my mind, man. Like I didn't know like what I'm gonna do, but I didn't even think about it, which was crazy. So I go to sleep, and then I wake up. It's like 4 a.m. I'm like up, like I got shot out of a cannon.
Yeah.
Like, all right, it's time. So I get ready, and what am I doing? I'm just driving to the office because that's like what I'm trained to do. I've done this for so many years. At this point, it's like 22 years of being in the mortgage business. So like that's like my thing.
Yeah.
Instead of getting to the office, so my truck drives to the park, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing at the park? And I'm like, oh yeah, God wanted me to go for a walk with him, so I'm at the park. So let's go for a walk. So I get out of the truck and I start asking God what I'm supposed to do, and I built this rhythm of being able to ask God, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And he would give me the exact steps to take. He wouldn't paint the whole picture, the whole end game. He'd just tell me what I was supposed to do that day. So that very first day, it was like, how do I unwind this lease, God? Like this commercial lease that I was involved in was 2.5 years left. And it was a kind of commercial lease that like, if you don't pay, they sue you. This
Yeah.
isn't like, oh yeah, you're going to get a ding on your credit. No, this is like serious. Like
Yeah.
they put a lien on your house and shit, like you're paying this thing.
Yeah.
So he tells me exactly what to do. And I literally got out of a commercial lease that day with the things
Wow.
that he told me to do. You don't, and if you're not familiar, and if your listeners aren't familiar with a commercial lease, they don't move that fast. Commercial realtors, I love them, but they don't move that fast. And I got out of it like in writing, had a draft and an email in my email that day that it's all good, that it's done. And I'm like, wow, this is like incredible. So I go home, I play with the kids. The next morning, I wake up early. I go for another walk. I'm like, okay, God, I got 5 employees. Now, just to give you like some content around this wise, like the 5 employees that I had at the time that were my full-time employees, then I had 4 telemarketers, but the full-time employees at this time, um, 2 of them were with me long enough to fix their credit, save down payments, and purchase their first home. So like they were homeowners. They weren't just, oh, I got to find another job to pay my rent. No, like I have a mortgage to pay,
Pay. Yeah.
and I've got a family. Like
Provide for. Yeah.
yeah. So it was serious. And I was feeling for him. I'm like, what do I do if I'm out? Like I know I'm going to be fine. Like I'm going to make money. Like that's fine. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. And I mean, I need to eat, and I know I'll be able to eat. Like that's not like a conversation I'm having, but it
Yeah.
was for them. I was worried. He's like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to call up Greg, the president of the mortgage company. You're going to tell him you're going to give him all of your employees. He's got to take all of them, and you'll have all your systems. You'll give him everything that you have. Greg wants your systems. This is what God's telling me. He's like, he knows that you do more business than anybody. He wants everything that you got, and he wants your employees. So I call up Greg. I leave the park. I go to the office. I call Greg. I'm like, so here's a proposition for you. I'm done. I'm out of the mortgage business, and I'm going to give you all 5 of my employees as long as you accept all their salaries at the same number that they're paying now, and you let them have offices at the corporate side. Then I'm done. I'm out. He said, I would love that. So he took them on. 4 out of the 5 moved over to the corporate side. One of them, he went out, a more marketing coordinator. He actually went out on his own because he wanted to build his own business, which was great. I gave him my blessing,
Yeah.
but like they're taken care of. So it's like this rhythm, like, okay, God is like telling me what to do to like deconstruct everything that I created. And it was literally like the moves I was making were like incredible how fast they were happening.
Wow. That's just, again, this is why we connected. This story right here. This is why we connected, so that people can hear your story and people can know that God works
Yeah,
in mysterious ways, man.
he does.
You never know. You never know when what when why how it just happens. It's and it's and you have to be able to. I guess he knew I was ready to receive my message, and I guess he knew it was time for you to receive your message.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People aren't aware that they need to. Some of them completely miss their message because they're not. I guess they're not open. They're not receiving him.
Yeah. It's absolutely right. So here was the next order of business for me with God was, okay, God, what's my purpose? Let's start with what's my financial purpose? Like I need to know what is the direction and the focus you want me to head for my financial purpose. What you told me you made me and you put me on this earth to be way bigger than a mortgage guy. I'm not a mortgage guy anymore. What am I now? What do you want me to do? How can I serve you, God? That was a conversation I had one morning walk after I unwound everything. And he told me. And it was the most exciting and most incredible conversation I've ever had with God. He told me that I'm going to connect as many alpha men as I can to him directly. I'm going to teach these men how to walk with God. I'm going to show these men how they can have a direct connection with God on a daily basis so they have the consistency that I have to be able to get all their answers they've always been looking for. I'm going to be able to teach these men how to get their answers for their marketing, for their business, for their fulfillment, for everything that they need in their money game. God is going to help them and direct them. I'm going to teach these men how to make their bodies full of power and muscle and energy. I'm going to teach these men how to lead their families, be the man that they need to be for their wife so their wife will follow them, be able to lead their children and show up as a father the way they're supposed to show up. Like he's telling me all this in one walk, Wise. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm like, I have chills right now, even telling you this story because it's just, it's so dear to me. This one walk. He's like, you're going to connect them. So I have like this rhythm about like how I talk with God. And
Yeah.
part of the rhythm was that I would come to him a certain way to where he'd give me so much information, I would have to speak the coaching and the revelation out loud into my phone and record it. It's the only way that I could get it all because there was too much. He would give me so much. And so he's like, in a walk a couple of days later, he's like, you're going to build the Godwalk app. You're going to teach men to actually download the Godwalk app on their phones. And when they download the Godwalk app, they're going to be able to directly be connected to me and walk with me like you do. And I'm like, wow. And then a couple of days later, he's like, and then the men that are walking with me, the men that are connected to me, you're going to build an army for me. We're going to win the battle of good versus evil here on earth. You're going to get these men for me. You're going to build an army for me. I'm like, holy shit. Like, what do you mean? He's like, you need men connected to me, masculine men that are alpha men ready to lead their companies, lead their bodies, lead their families. You're going to teach these men how to be whole with all those areas. And then you're going to teach these men how to listen to me. And you're going to teach these men how, when they're connected to me directly, I'm going to give them their part and how they can win this battle of good versus evil. Your part is to connect the men to me, and my part is to deploy those men in their communities, in their jobs, in their families, so this good versus evil battle can be won. And I'm like floored at this point because like to have God tell you and talk with you and like jump into your head and start speaking to you is one thing, but then to have God like tell you that you're about to change the world with building an army of men for Him to win this battle of good versus evil, which we don't even like. I didn't even at that point really understand what that meant. And he's told me more about, you know, all the propaganda and all the negative stuff that's being pushed out there. Um, like we need men that are listening to God. We need men that are connected to God. And if there's enough men that are listening and connected to God, like those men can't be influenced by propaganda and bullshit media. And
Yeah.
it's something that's very dear to me. So I mean, I'm looking for these men. I'm looking for men that want to be a part of God's army. I'm looking for men that feel called. Like they're listening to this podcast right now and they're like, you know what? That's me. Like I know I'm here for something way bigger and better than what I'm doing right now. Something that really means something, something that counts. And those are the men that I'm looking for to be a part of this army.
Yeah. I agree with you. I feel you 100%. I know what you mean. It's you hear him and you communicate and you talk to him and I'm sure people think that we're kind of we're probably off our rockers, but, but you know what? It doesn't matter, man. As long as he hears us and we communicate with him, and we and when I first started, it was I was the content I was putting out wasn't what I wanted to put out. It was a lot of negative content, and, but once I focused and started doing more positive content and wanting to create content to help and serve people, that's when it really shifted. That's when it really started taking off, and I started attracting the guests that I was meant to have on my show, and to be able to do that and not sacrifice who I am, be me, being able to be myself, not lose myself in that in that on that path and on that journey, that it's just like a breath of fresh air. It's like being able to just come on and do my show and be myself and allow my guests to be themselves and have these conversations and tell their stories. To me, that's like this this big weight that was just lifted off me, and just being able to have that impact. I feel where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. I'm down. I'm ready to serve your army.
Well, look, I know that there's some men just like you, Wise, that are inspired by this message.
Yeah.
This message isn't my message. This is God's message. This is God's influence that's speaking through me. And what I truly believe is the right men that are feeling called right now, hearing this message, and they're like, you know what? I want more information. I want to see if I meet the requirements to be a part of this army. Like if those are the men that are feeling what I'm saying right now, what I'm describing, and they feel like pulled or they feel called to be a part of this, they need to go to the website. The website's godspeedwithdaniel.com. Again, godspeedwithdaniel.com. And they can apply to be considered. They got to submit an application. This is not like, this isn't a sales pitch. Okay. This is let's see if you qualify. Let's see if you're right. The men of God is a brotherhood, and this brotherhood is going to take over the world. This brotherhood is going to win the battle of good versus evil, because these men are not going to be coached or trained by some guru. These men are going to be coached and trained by God, the creator of everything that we see and everything that we breathe and everything that we get to have. Like he's the one that's orchestrating the content. He's the one that's orchestrating the fulfillment. He's the one that's going to be making these men whole with their businesses and their bodies and their relationships. And he's going to be the one ultimately telling each one of these men what their part is in this battle. Like, I don't know what it's going to look like for these men that are listening right now. I don't know what their part is, but I do know that when you're whole and when you have nothing away from, being able to hear God, and you have this connection that is just over and over, it's a consistent connection with God, you will know your purpose. You will know what you're supposed to do. You'll know why you were chosen to be a part of the army. And then from there, you'll have that fulfilled life that everyone's searching for. Every man that's listening to this is searching for a fulfilled life. I don't care if they're going to admit it or not. They want to be fulfilled. They don't want to live in scarcity. They want to live in abundance. They want to be strong. They want to be powerful. They want their wife to follow them. They want to be the father they've always wanted to be and knew they could be. They just don't know how. And God will give them those answers. So I really hope that those individuals that are being called, that are being pulled to this message, like they apply. And they're going to get on the phone with me, and I'm going to talk with them, and I'm going to straight up, we're going to have an interview. You're going to interview me, and I'm going to interview you. We're going to find out if you're a fit, and we're going to find out if you're the right guy to be a part of this army. And if you are, then we're going to spend some time together. Like we meet quarterly here in Florida, and we have customized training that is literally every week for a whole 12 months. So it's a big commitment. So if you're willing to grow, you're willing to become whole in your money and your body and your relationships, and then find out what your purpose is and your ultimate reason why you're part of the army, then you can go to godspeedwithdaniel.com, and we'll jump on the phone together and we'll see what happens.
Wow. Well, what part of Florida are you in?
West Palm Beach, the best, the greatest, the most impressive and beautiful place on earth. West Palm Beach, Florida.
I lived in Tampa for
Okay.
about 8 years.
Tampa's
And
nice.
yeah, and I came back home after my wife passed away, and I'm actually headed to Florida this week for Podfest. The convention is in Orlando, so I'm heading to Florida. I'll be in Orlando from the 26th through the 29th, and really looking forward to it because
Yeah.
I get to be around like-minded people. I get to be
Yes.
surround myself with people that are doing what I want to do, or so for me it's going over there to learn and to connect with people and build relationships, and that's something that I'm so grateful for and thankful for, that being able to do my podcast is being able to build these relationships, is being able to connect with these people, being able to connect with yourself and my other guests that I've had on my show. It happens for a reason. All these connections happen for a reason. It's like I'm
Yeah.
sp- it was a point where I felt like kind of selfish that I was doing the show because I was learning so much. But but someone pointed out to me like it's not selfishness. You're wanting to grow and learn and develop, and the fact that you're sharing it with your audience, that's nothing but self love there.
Yeah. I could tell you're aligned for the right reasons. I can tell that right away. So, like I said, I'm really glad to be a part of this. I'm sure your viewers reflect you, because they have to reflect you if they're listening to you. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Like we attract like attracts like. So I'm sure a lot of the viewers that are listening right now are like minded just like you.
Um, they want like I transitioned to live because I wanted to interact with the audience. I wanted my people if anyone had a question to ask, they can ask questions. Because at first I was strictly audio, then I transitioned to pre-recorded, and then last summer, I transitioned to live, and my numbers took a hit as far as the video part of it,
Yeah.
but I didn't care because having the audience interaction made it their show as well, and it made me feel good about that. It made me feel like, all right, they're interacting, they're dropping questions. I had a guest come on. She was amazing. She was a designer from a designer. She a home designer and stuff like, and she was autistic. And I have a friend of mine that everyone in her house is on the spectrum. Everyone in her house is autistic. And she was having a bad day. And she came in and she listened to the show when I had the young lady on. She sent me a message after the show. Thank you so much. I needed. She's like, I was down. I was going through so much, and to be able to hear that episode and catch that episode, she said that the notification hit me, and something said, "Let me check it out." And she checked it out, and she had a great connection. She actually connected with the young lady. She had her on this event she had this this her first event she had. She had the young lady on, and to be able to impact someone like that, to shout out to Sarah Bradford. I love her. She's a good friend now, and it was just having her say thank you and say I needed that episode and I needed to hear that. It's nothing that there's no feeling better than that.
Yeah. Everyone that's listening right now on the live part of this is definitely here for a reason. There's a reason they were called to listen to this message today. And I completely understand and agree with you 1000% wise. Like this is a great thing for the people that are listening right now. It really
Yeah.
is.
But now, Daniel, it's time where you really get to just plug away. This is all you. It's all you
Yeah.
now, brother.
Well, I feel like I've plugged away for the last 43 minutes. Wise. So here's the thing. You can walk with God starting right now. If you're looking for answers in your business, or if you're looking for answers in your body and your health, or you want to get stronger, or you're looking for answers on why she won't follow me, why are my children not looking up to me? Like God has all your answers. You don't need the app. You don't need to be a part of God's army to talk with God. You can talk with God right now. And that's something that is available for every single person that's seeing this message. That's the first thing that I want to say. And then the last thing that I want to say is that we are building this army. We are looking for the right men. If you're a woman, women, make sure your men sees this message. This is not an army for women, it's an army for men. Men, you come a part of this army, you're going to take care of your wives. Your wives want to be led. Every single woman that's listening right now, they want to be taken care of. They want to have a man that can take care of their family financially and spiritually and domestically, sexually. Men, these women want you to take care of them, but you got to be connected to God so God can direct your steps. That's all I got, Wise.
That's great enough, brother. That's great enough. But don't leave just yet. Let me just close out the show right quick, and I'll talk to you a little bit off the air.
Okay, great.
That's wrong one. All right. So, all right, now it's time for shout outs, man. Big shout outs to everybody in the chat. Ben from BS3 Network, which we air there live Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. Shout out to Latina in Cali, man. Thank you for always coming through and showing love. Big shout out to my man Corrado. The other day he stopped me and gave me some critique, and I greatly appreciate that, brother, man. You have to have no ego when you do this, and I appreciate you telling me how you felt because you are a loyal listener and watcher and follower, and I greatly appreciate you telling me what you did, brother. Thank you. Big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina. Love you and appreciate you, baby. Even though I know I can be a handful, I am so grateful to have you in my life. Big shout out to our guest, Daniel, for coming through and sharing his message, man. I greatly appreciate that. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.